Okay, we'll start with this. Well, James Degale is ready to kick off his ring return against Muñoz. And this is for a card on Sunday, the card that John Molina and Victor Ortiz were supposed to be headlining the main event. This is for that card. There's a few fights on that card, a few fighters on that card. Interesting situations. You know, Joe Joyce is going to be on there. Very curious to see how he looks now that he's over there at Big Bear. And, you know, it could be a fun little card. But what really got my attention about all of this is James Degale and his opponent, Fidel Monterrosa Muñoz, who's got a professional record of 39 wins, 18 losses with 1 draw. And 31 of those 39 wins came by way of knockout. So this is a guy who's been around the block. But just what block that is what you might find curious. You see, this Muñoz guy, this guy, you know, first, let's get this out of the way. These guys weighed in, you know, James Degale, I think he weighed in at about 172, and Muñoz weighed in at about 170, something like that, both of them around there.
All right.
But the thing is that Muñoz is about as much a light heavyweight as I am a fucking astronaut. I'll go a step further. Muñoz is as much a super middleweight as I am a Ninja Turtle. You see, this Muñoz guy, what he really is, oh yeah, he's obviously a tune-up fight. That much we can deduce by his professional record.
18 losses.
But along with the things that Muñoz is, what Muñoz really is a very fucking fat junior middleweight. I mean, seriously, the majority of this guy's career has either been fought at welterweight or junior middleweight, but this guy's no middleweight.
Nope.
He's no super middleweight.
Nope.
And he damn sure ain't no motherfucking light heavyweight. Essentially, the reason this grabbed my attention is because I saw the guy that James Degale's tuning up with, and I'm thinking, okay, well, whatever. And I look at the guy's record, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck's going on here? You vacated your IBF title. You vacated that title ahead of an order from the IBF that would have forced you to fight Jose Uzcategui. When you turn around and you fight this guy.
Who is this guy?
With all these things in mind, you know, I think it's safe to say that James Degale ducked Jose Uzcategui. I mean, I think it's okay for me to say that without getting too much backlash. Yes, this is a tune-up fight. I realize that. But think about it a couple of steps further. Think about it. You know, what's James Degale planning on doing? What are you tuning up to do? What are you what are you mounting up to do? What are you gearing to do?
Seriously.
Because you're fighting this guy, obviously, as a lighter touch, ahead of what was a difficult fight with Caleb Truax. In that fight, James Degale won back his IBF title, which was taken from him by Caleb Truax. Cool. You got your title back. But as soon as the IBF told you, okay, well, guess what? You got to fight Jose Uzcategui now. He threw that title in the air, and he's now fighting this guy.
The fuck?
I'm just wondering what are James Degale's plans? You know, like what's he mounting? What's he about to do? You understand?
No, not really.
Because I'm not trying to be overly critical. I'm just looking at the situation and trying to understand what's happening. You know, James Degale went as far as having the rematch with Caleb Truax to win that title back, only so that he could surrender it to Uzcategui, and for what? To fight this guy? Obviously not. Obviously, James Degale is tuning up for a reason. He's tuning up to do something, but what? Is he going to try to contend for a world title at super middleweight, another world title? I mean, you know, I'll tell you, and I said it before, I'll say it again. I don't give James based on how he looked in both Caleb Truax fights, I don't give him very good odds to beat Zurdo. I don't give him good odds to beat Zerto or David Benavidez or Jose Uzcategui, who, you know what, when I saw the order, I said I think Uzcategui beats Degale. And that was before Degale decided to vacate the title. You got Caleb Smith now, what? Do you think Degale might want to challenge Caleb Smith, maybe? It's a possibility. A domestic clash. It's a possibility. But I see him fighting this guy, and this is not a guy that can provide... I mean, seriously, how much resistance do you guys think Fidel Muñoz can give James Degale, who is a gold medalist, a seasoned Olympian, and a former champion? How much resistance do you think he's going to get out of this guy?
Not much.
You're tuning up with this guy, and what resistance is he intended to provide?
He's a fat welterweight.
This fat welterweight that you're fighting, he ain't gonna get you ready for what's going on at super middleweight, let alone light heavyweight. Because lest we forget, these guys weighed in above the super middleweight limit. So I'm left wondering, when I see these things, what is James Degale gearing up to do? Maybe now that Caleb Smith has won the WBA title and the Ring Magazine belt, maybe James Degale might want to challenge him. I don't know. It's a possibility. This is boxing. Anything is fucking possible, especially when it comes to the news. The news is always fluid. So maybe, this is just, he's shaking off the cobwebs. But honestly, there had to be somebody better than this. Because this guy, what he really is a really fucking fat welterweight. That's what he is, okay? 18 fucking losses this guy's got, okay? That's what we're talking about. And this is the guy that James Degale is tuning up with. Like I said, it's safe to say that James Degale dodged a bullet in Jose Uzcategui. I saw how he looked in both Truax fights, even the one where he won, and he seemed like a guy who Uzcategui might beat him. And when James Degale decided to vacate that IBF title, a lot of people were left with the task of interpreting, okay, you vacated your title to do what? To do what? To be the A-side in negotiations against who? You're not even a world champion anymore. You willfully vacated your title, and we're left asking why. And it seems that the only real answer to that question, the only real answer to that why did he do that? Seems like the only answer was to get out of fighting Jose Uzcategui. I mean, honestly, maybe James Degale has something in the works, but right now, here today, it does really seem like the only reason that he vacated the title was to get out of fighting Jose. I don't see what he's gearing up to do. Who's he gonna fight? What, Badu Jack rematch? Maybe Caleb Smith? I mean, even if it is Caleb Smith, look at it this way. Even if James Degale walks into a Caleb Smith fight and he tries to challenge him for the Ring Magazine belt and the WBA title, that's still saying that you view Caleb Smith as being more beatable than Jose Uzcategui. Because if you felt that you could beat Jose, you would have just defended your title against him and kept it. But that's not what you did. You threw it in the air, effectively surrendering it to him.
I'm lying?
Yeah, hey, it is what it is. The card might be a fun little card, all things considered, but this was always a curious move by James Degale. You understand? I always looked at this as, okay, why, if this isn't ducking, for anybody who wants to say that he didn't duck Jose,
explain it.
Okay, then you explain it. Why'd he surrender his title? It can't be it can't be to fight Fidel Muñoz, but it appears that, well, I mean, you tell me. That's all I'm saying. In other news, boxing legend and all-time great Roberto Duran had this to say: Canelo deserves respect, treated like a gringo in Mexico. He's quoted as saying, "What I do not understand with the respect to Mexico is that Canelo's countrymen treat him as if he were from another country. He is from Guadalajara. He is Mexican. And I have noticed with respect to Mexico, they do not give him the credibility that they should give him. They treat him as if he were a gringo. And he is not a gringo, but a Mexican. They have to love Canelo more and respect him because he is giving glory to his country, which is the most important thing." Duran said to ESPN Deportes. We as boxers are used to being criticized. You win or lose and they're going to criticize you, and you do not pay attention to that. A lot of people saw Canelo win. I saw Canelo win. But for the people in Mexico, the most important thing is that he won for the independence and the celebration of beating Triple G and taking away his undefeated record. But here's Duran's problem, and here's the problem that a lot of Canelo Alvarez fans are facing. These guys think that they can put their finger in the sky and blot out the sun.
It's called denial.
They think they can put their finger in the sky and blot out the sun when all that's doing is limiting your perspective, limiting your view, your vantage point. The light of the sun is still going to rain down on everybody else,
regardless,
as will the truth. And the truth is that in this rematch, there were a lot of people that didn't see Canelo Alvarez win that fight. There are a lot of people that know what they're talking about more than you and more than me. That they didn't score that fight for Canelo Alvarez. It was a close fight. He fought valiantly. He gave the fans exactly what they wanted.
A for effort.
But an A for effort doesn't equal an actual decisive victory. And that's what that fight wasn't. Okay? You guys, I don't know why you think that you can fool anyone other than yourselves. Canelo Alvarez is the same guy who got a 114 scorecard in the Mayweather fight.
Explain it.
Which was a lopsided fight. Yet somehow this guy gets a draw card?
Explain it.
You look at the first Golovkin fight, and you know what? That was a highway robbery. Okay? Highway robbery. Outscored in 10 rounds out of 12. And all that got Golovkin was a draw. So in this rematch, people are looking at Canelo Alvarez as a guy who really hasn't been brought to justice. That you robbed him in the first fight. So even if you did okay in the second, you never really answered for the first. You've been getting away with this and will continue to get away with this. But it doesn't fool anyone.
Exactly.
No matter how many times you get the nod from the judges, no matter what goes on, people know what they saw.
They know.
And they didn't... I said it, I want to give him credit for fighting a great fight because he did. Canelo fought a great fight. But you guys are sitting there acting like this was some kind of a decisive victory, and it really wasn't. At best, it was a draw. At best. There are many professionals and pundits that either had it 7-5 Golovkin or a draw. And you can sit here and argue in the comments under this video. You can do that. But at the end of the day, remember, Roberto Duran is the one that's saying that Canelo's countrymen are treating him like an outsider, and he doesn't know why. Well, that's why. Because you'd either have to be a blithering idiot or a dick-sucking sycophant, or both, to overlook what is the obvious favoritism that Canelo Alvarez receives due to his marquee value, and what effect that has over the outcomes of contests. These guys will sit there and give you their little bullshit breakdown about how Canelo Alvarez dominated a fight that stayed in the center of the ring, mind you. A fight that, but he dominated. He pressured the guy, and the guy succumbed to it, even though the fight stayed in the center of the ring, and the other guy actually landed more punches than Canelo did. But if you kick it to these guys, they'll give you their little bullshit breakdown, and they think they can fool people with this as if people don't know what the fuck they're watching. Canelo Alvarez has gotten away with too much. So what I think about this entire situation, why he's being treated this way, before you go commenting that I'm being biased, remember, jackass, Duran is saying his own countrymen view him as an outsider.
They're biased?
His own countrymen. And that's because his own countrymen aren't morons. They know what they saw. They know what they saw in this fight, and they know what they saw in the second fight. I'm of the opinion that had Golovkin got the decision in the first fight, people wouldn't have even minded if this was a draw. If Golovkin would have got the win in the first fight like he deserved, Canelo could have exercised his rematch clause, and they could have had the second fight. And if the rematch played out how what we saw played out, people would have said, yeah, Canelo earned that draw. That was a draw. But the problem that people have got
is the favoritism.
Is that Canelo didn't deserve a draw. That should be another loss in his column from the first fight. It should be, but it's not. And ahead of what is Canelo Alvarez's future, we see a playing field that is so fucking uneven, it doesn't even make sense for anybody to go after him. Because if this guy's not dead by the end of the 12th, you can bet your bottom dollar that the scorecards are gonna come back funny. In the fight that I saw Canelo Alvarez put on a valiant effort, a great fight. He fought like a goddamn champion. The problem is that all the other stuff takes away from what he did. the performance-enhancing drug scandal, the scoring in the first fight, the funny scorecards that he's become synonymous with, the uneven playing field that everybody's on once they enter the ring with Canelo Alvarez. You're wondering why he's being treated like an outsider by his own people. You're wondering why there are people saying that they don't see it the way that you saw it. And that's why. If you don't want to address it, if you want to put your finger up in the sky and blot out the sun, you can. You can blot it out for yourself. But the rest of us still see it up there, whether you want to acknowledge that or not. I mean, you can go as far as watching this video in its entirety and deduce that, oh, well, this guy's a Golovkin fanboy. That's why he scored it for him. Okay, I'll be that. I'll be that, for argument's sake. What about the people in Guadalajara that Duran is talking about? What about those people? If those people are biased, then wouldn't they be rooting for the hometown fighter? Why would they be treating him like he's a gringo? Why would they treat him like he's an outsider? Why would they be treating him that way? Could it have something to do with the obvious favoritism that he's received and is still receiving and will receive in the future? Could it have something to do with that? My guess is yeah, because the people in Guadalajara aren't dumb the same way the people here aren't dumb. We know what we saw. And you can lie to yourself about it, but you can't lie to us.